Hey there, this is Scott Christensen. I'm the Director of Recruiting with Kairos Church Planting, and today we're going to talk about tent events. And the great thing about tent events is that it's an amazing way to equip and train your congregation and disciples to be effectively going out and making disciples. So we're going to take a few minutes and just kind of briefly talk about these experiences and the success that we've seen through doing tent events with some of our Kairos church plants in the past. You know, one thing that's important to understand is that there's two different types of outreach models where you do have your outreach component part of your congregation. And a lot of times in youth ministry, children's ministry, we see them doing a lot of outreach model, meaning this, that if you go back to John chapter 1, verse 39 and 41, says, Jesus said, "Come and see," and they went and saw the place where he was staying. And the time was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they stayed with Jesus the rest of the day. And Andrew was one of those followers of John who heard John speak and went after Jesus, and he was Simon Peter's brother. And the first thing that Andrew did was find his brother Simon, and he said, "We have found the Messiah." And he brought him to Jesus. And that's one of the things when we do outreach events, we're bringing people to Jesus. We're bringing them to the church building or to our platform, which is very, very important. But today we're actually going to talk about what is the missional model. And sometimes we hear that buzzword missional, and it can mean a lot of things. But when we talk about missional, it literally means to go. And when Jesus sent out the 12 and he sent out the 72, he sent them out in pairs to go into the villages and tell the people there to repent, for the kingdom of heaven's at hand. And they went and they came back and they told Jesus about all the things that had happened, and they had baptized people. And we see that in Scripture that it talks about Jesus being filled with joy. And that's really important. I think that as the church, it needs to be equipped to be able to go into our communities, go into those areas where the people are at, the marketplaces. We see Paul doing that in Acts when he went into the marketplace and into Mars Hill and was able to meet with people on their turf. So what does that look like exactly? Well, one of the ways that we try to train our church planners and church leaders to be able to go into their community is find things within the community that's already going on. It's a very cost-effective way to be able to reach hundreds, sometimes thousands of people and have that interface with them through these tent events. So we're just going to get into this. Again, this might mean, and most communities do have farmers markets. And they typically start about this time of year in the spring, where typically around Easter, Mother's Day, the vendors come in from all over the state to be able to bring in their produce, or local people are selling their crafts. But this is an excellent time to be able to understand and read your community as well, to figure out what the context of their life is, what kind of things are they into, and be able to kind of rub shoulders with these great community organizations. Many times, especially in the summer, cities are having festivals. Here in Puyallup, we have what is called the Meeker Days, and it's about a 3-day event before Father's Day where hundreds of vendors come and they shut down the streets. And part of our church with Renovo, we were able to host a stage. We had our tent set up and host a stage where they had, local music acts came in, and we donated our sound system to be able to make that happen. There's parades, there's fairs, and so whatever your community has organically that's going on, it is such an opportunity to be able to jump in and do that. So how do you be able to pull off a tent event? So what I've got is down below. You can download the itinerary. It's just basically 7 pages of organization to be able to train and equip your church to be able to go out. Now, you might use your small groups and schedule, however many maybe you have 10 small groups, and each small group is assigned a week during the summer to sit site and join the farmers market. Or again, the festival that's going on. So regardless of whatever you've got going on in your city, make sure to take advantage of it. It's such an amazing opportunity. So Once you've downloaded the itinerary, take a minute and look through it. The first thing is the week of the tent event. You want to take time and pray and ask God to bless your efforts within the community. Contact church and small group members and schedule a time slot for them to be able to come in. I mean, that's, again, some people don't have the opportunity of sitting there for 6 hours. So maybe they could just give an hour of time, half an hour, or maybe the full day. But be able to schedule that in and organize it. Pick up all of the supplies, which, again, there's a supply list within this itinerary that you should have. So the day and night before, you want to be able to load up the vehicle, get it ready to go. Again, this isn't the best part, but it's waking up early on that Saturday and getting there with plenty of time prior to that farmer's market starting. You might want to grab some coffee, get some donuts, be able to set those out for your volunteers. Just again, it's kind of up to you what you want to do prior to that. About 7:30 a.m., you want to get into the venue area, unload the materials quickly, and then go park as close as you can, because again, some of that stuff can be heavy. Again, that setup procedure might look like trying to get as close to the nonprofit area as you can. Set up your tent. Get a table out front to be able to set your supplies on. Put a tablecloth on top so it looks nice and organized. And again, you could get elaborate as you want to get. Sometimes you could even get the cloth with your name on it. Unload the supply box. Set up balloons. Again, you want to maybe rent a helium tank. Sometimes, like Michael's will have those small tanks, the pink tanks, that fill up about 20 balloons. And the balloon size you want to make is about the size of a soccer ball, a size 5 soccer ball, about yay big. And you want to give specific instructions so you're not blowing up like these huge balloons, but just enough so you can budget your helium to be able to do that. You want to have the string, obviously, to be able to tie to those balloons. Again, with the balloons itself, you can actually go online and find balloon sites that will print out specific your logo of your church on there. Just makes it pretty helpful. Then again, put your brochures and information about the church on the table. One of the things that you could do is create a giveaway, so that when they fill out their name and address or email or phone numbers, when you're trying to collect this information to build your database with these outreach level people, you could do an iPod giveaway or something, an item of value somehow, to be able to get them to give you that information. Sorry, my light went off in my office that I'm using here. But you want to have all your materials neatly placed on the table. And then, very important, is spend time in prayer as a team. Ask God to draw people to your table. And very important, don't leave your table unmanned. Don't leave it. Always make sure that somebody is there. Again, look for those. Allow your members to be able to walk through the farmer's market, get to know some of the vendors. So important. But don't leave your table unmanned. Invite children to come and get their face painted. So set up face painting. Sometimes, again, you don't have the artist and people are like, I don't feel comfortable. Well, you could go buy, again, those really inexpensive stamps, for stamping. They've got like, carnival or circus animals on them. And you could just paint those and literally just kind of put it on and then just kind of touch it up. But look for opportunities. Kids love face painting. They love free face painting, and so do parents. You'll see them line up at your table. It will attract people and families and strollers, and this is your opportunity to be able to get into those conversations. So when we get into that in a minute, we'll talk about having conversations with parents. Then again, as you wrap things up with your table, probably about 15 minutes, you want to kind of get things cleaned up, organized, put all of the face painting stuff, try to clean it up and get it ready for the next tent event that you're going to have. Break down the table, put away the tablecloth, etc. Load everything up and then return it to wherever it's at, the church office or a headquarters someplace. And it's going to be important that you have your small group or those volunteers fill out the inventory need sheet and be able to give that back to you as a leader. And we have that there for you as well as a resource. Very important because, again, if you run out of paint, running out of helium, running out of string, balloons, all of these things kind of go quickly, and they really do. You'd be surprised. Sometimes we would go through literally 100 balloons on a given farmer's market, and we'd go through the face paints. You could pick up the face paints, again, at Michael's or Hobby Lobby and use them there. But always make sure you have it well equipped for your volunteers to be able to use those resources. Again, as the kids are getting their face painted, going back to that, this is the opportunity to tell the face painter, the person doing the face painting, to be slow. Go slow. Take your time, because then the other person is having the opportunity of having that conversation with the parents. And you might ask these questions to the parents. Are you from the area? Are you from, Nashville? Are you from, San Francisco? Where are you from? Are you from Puyallup, Washington? Where did you go to high school? And then looking for that opportunity to tell them maybe you went to the same high school or the neighboring high school. Make that connection. Is this your first time to the farmer's market or to the Meeker Days, the festival? Have you gone before? What do you think of some of the other vendors? Look for ways to talk about some of the outside things to get their opinions. And at some point, look to be able to tell them a little bit about, well, I'm from, Renovo Church. And we meet on Sundays at the community center, or looking for opportunities to invite them to your next outreach event, something that you're hosting, a planting or cultivating event at your church building, to invite them to. Or if you look in these, you see that they have teenagers or junior high students, high school students, being able to invite them to your next student ministry outreach event. And again, let them know that you're partnering with the associations within the city, your Main Street Association, your Better Business Bureau, whatever that is. Look for opportunities to kind of talk about how the church is really looking to work with the city itself. And then if they have children, obviously, talk about your children's ministry. What's some of the highlights to your ministry? What do you guys do well? Is there a camp coming up? VBS, etc. And then encourage them to come by and visit on a Sunday morning. Check out the church website. Try and get them to tell you what they're into and genuinely converse with them. So important to be able to ask them. There's other ideas, like again, if you look through the itinerary, you could set up a root beer taste test. People love that. In fact, we actually had too much of a response to it when we did it at a fair. We had too big of a line, and they're like, you guys got to shut it down. But test them out, put up some fun mug root beer versus A&W and get them to take the test and be able to get in the conversations with them. But just have fun with it. Look for those opportunities to be able to do that. And then look again, when you're talking about your church itself, when those come up, they're going to ask you, what kind of church are you? So make sure your people have the brochures to be able to make sure that they're versed to talk about what kind of church you are. Again, we would tell our people that we're a non-denominational church that believes that Jesus is the Son of God. We're a new church in the area. We were planted by local people in Puyallup who wanted to get to know and be involved with people and their lives and cultures of Puyallup. And we have a simple model, and we want to take care of the local issues facing our friends and neighbors in Puyallup and Pierce County. And they might say, well, who's your leader? Who's your pastor? And we would say, literally, like Jesus Christ is our senior pastor. And we have a ministry staff, but the whole congregation is considered ministers that were overseen by the Northwest Church up in Shoreline, Washington. So we tell them again who our leaders are and give them, and inside that brochure, shared who the leaders were, gave them some idea about that. And then what kind of church planting organization are you with? If you're a church plant, or what kind of, tell me about the restoration movement, etc. So all of these things, make sure that your people have plenty of information to be able to use. And then at the very end, you want to be able to get your small group leader to fill out the inventory sheet as well as the survey about who the small group was, who the leader was, the date of the event, the small group, how many participated from your small group, were you on time when you arrived, was the table available for you, was all the materials and supplies available, how many people did you estimate that you met with? Were you able to get into any spiritual conversations? And then again, how many were interested in visiting the church? Should we be expecting anybody tomorrow? Being able to really get that so that when those people actually show up to that Sunday morning event, that they are even known. That is powerful. Or even better is if you can know them by name. And so when you see them coming out to the car, you could go greet them and just say, man, I'm really excited that you're here this morning. Here's some information, and personally tour them around, show them the children's ministry area, show them where the bathrooms are at, make sure you give them a bulletin or a cup of coffee to put in their hands. But remember that initial time, once they step in their doors, is going to be vital. So I hope this has been helpful. I know this is a little bit of a side item for Spring Surge and for Kairos courses, but we're just so blessed. And again, I hope you get some of the fruit. There's nothing more exciting than to see these people come to the booth and they start coming on Sunday mornings and literally coming and being baptized into Christ and having their life completely renovated in the name of Jesus. So may God bless you. Have a great week, great day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.